Hey, who said Reeve couldn't get it like this? Who said I couldn't hit the club like this? Ooh, she melanated. Ooh, she melanated. Yeah, she melanated. Ooh, she melanated. You better.
Hey guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Jaliyah. If you're new here, hit that like, comment, and subscribe. Don't comment. Comment at the end, but like and subscribe. I'm not gonna redo this intro, so I'm just gonna have to go with it. But yeah, anyway, today I'm gonna be teaching you guys how to budget and how to use my budget journals. I have a business page. You may be coming from here, from Jaliyah.Kreationz, and I'm gonna show you guys how to use these today. Yeah, I have a video on TikTok, but I wanted to go in depth, so I'm gonna go in depth today. So people, when they follow me on TikTok, they won't be asking how do I use it, because TikTok won't allow me to make a collections page, or it won't like let me make collections, which is so stupid. Because I like, why can't I have the creator fund too? I don't know what TikTok's doing, but let's get into it, guys. I'm gonna show you exactly how to use my budget planners and all the things you need and all that good stuff. Yeah, okay, trying to angle my camera is like a whole nother mission. But guys, so the first thing you're gonna need is, I keep all my stuff like in a little bin like this. You're gonna need a calculator, a pen, and you need to go on the link in the bio and you need to buy a journal. Because if you don't have a journal, how are we gonna start your budget journey? Okay guys, so I finally got a setup that works here, but this is my 12-month planner. It's Budgeting Made for Beginners by Jaliyah.Kreationz. On the back, we talk about why I started the planner and all that good stuff, but we're gonna jump straight into it, guys. So the first page of the journal is going to be our introduction page. This is where we're gonna write down our goals for the year, what we struggle with, and what we really want to save up for. So I'm not gonna fill this all the way out, but an example is I'm gonna show you guys my personal planner and what my goals were here. So my personal goals were to save up more passive income. I struggle the most with spending money on food, guys. I'm a foodie. I like to eat out, and then what I really want to save up for, and then you're gonna write down the year. So guys, remember this is gonna last for 2 years. I mean, not 2 years, a year. So it's going to last you for a whole year. So whenever you start this journal, it's gonna be from then. So if you start February, it's gonna last you to February of next year. It's 12 months. But this is my introduction page. The next page we have here is our vision board page. So I want you to visualize the lifestyle, the things you want to save for, guys. I feel like a vision board is very, very fundamental when it comes to goal setting, especially financial goals or just goals in general. So this is my vision board. I took pictures out and just taped them on there. And it doesn't have to always just be financially related. It could just be personal goals. Whatever your goals is, you can write it on there. Next, we have our monthly goal setting page. So we're going to go straight into this page and we're going to go right into it, and then we'll follow the other pages here going around. So guys, as mentioned before, I'm going to be using my old budget that I used to do back when I was working at Buffalo Wild Wings and Target. So this is how I used to budget before, but this is boring, this is ugly. We're going to straight go to using something that's aesthetically pleasing and makes us happy about budgeting. So we're going to start this month off with January. We're doing a budget for January. Our budget goal is going to be to save $400 a month. So guys, I'm going to use my example and then add some more in here, because I currently am not, and I wasn't at the time, and I'm still not struggling with debt, but I still want to use an example of how debt works. So if you are struggling with debt, you can see how this will benefit for you. So we're going to go in and we're going to write our sources of income. So we're going to write Target and then B-dubs. So I currently, when I was doing this budget, I was working at Target full time, and at the time I was making $15 per hour, and that was 40 times a week, or 40 hours a week. So 40 times 4 weeks in a month would be 160. So 160 times $15 will put our gross amount at $2,400. Now what I'm going to go through is I was working at B-Dubs part-time. So I didn't work that many hours there. So including tips and the hours I did work, I would roughly bring almost $736 bi-weekly. So this is bi-weekly checks. I would get paid twice a month, and I was working roughly 40 hours per week. So that cycle will repeat. So this is before tax. So we're going to do after tax here. You guys don't have to always write your gross pay in. It just might seem better when you're doing your taxes and all that stuff to have that information in there. But I'm going to zoom in here a little bit so you guys can see it a little bit better. Now what we're going to do is we're going to add up after tax. So I did get a few $100s taken out of my check. So I'm going to say that my take home probably was roughly $1,900, and that's for out of this $2,400. We do still have to take tax out of our checks, so that's what I would roughly be bringing home. Buffalo Wild Wings didn't take a lot of tax, so I'm only going to do $636. And guys, this could change based off my tips, so I may even be bringing home more than this off of my tips. It just all depends. So now what we're going to do is we're going to find our total for our income that we're bringing home a month. So 1,900 plus 636, we'll roughly be bringing home 2,536 for the month. So now that we know what our income is, which is 2,536, we are going to go in and fill in our fixed expenses. So some of these are my real expenses, guys. At the time when I was working this job and I had this income, I will be adding in some like credit card debt just to show you what it would look like if you were paying off credit card debt while budgeting each month, just for anyone that may be struggling with that. And I'm going in and I'm writing down, oh, I forgot to tell you guys what I'm doing. So I'm going in and I'm writing my fixed expenses, guys. A fixed expense is going to be an expense that remains constant within your budget. On the back of the journal, we also have a glossary, so if you do get stuck. So a fixed expense is an expense that remains constant within your budget, and you know exactly how much and when it will be coming out and when you'll be making these expenses. So rent, car payments, car insurance, memberships, all that good stuff will be your fixed expenses. Your variable are going to be your expenses that change within your budget. Groceries, eating out, gas, personal care, all that stuff is going to change and will not always be consistently. So now we're going to go in and we're going to write those in. So I did my car insurance for $127, my rent for $598. I did have a phone bill, which was $70. Our Wi-Fi for $27, and those at the time were our fixed expenses. We had car insurance, rent, phone, Wi-Fi, and utilities was included in the rent as well, guys. So now we're gonna scratch over to our variable expenses. Also, guys, you want to be writing the date that this stuff comes out as well, just so you know your fixed expenses, you know when these are going to come out. So go ahead and write those in there so you know for your own references of when these are going to come out. Perfect. So now we're going to go to our variable, guys. Remember, variable as varies. Think of it varies. It's not always the same, and it's destined to change. So both of my jobs were really close, so it's about $80 a month on gas. Personal care, like shampoo, all that good stuff, about $20. Groceries, about $120. Grooming / self-care. So the difference between personal care and self-care is going to be like hair, nails, all that good stuff. And then we had fun for $150. And then we had credit card for a payment of $40. And that's our minimum there. So these were all our subscriptions, all our variable expenses we had here. But now we're going to go over and we're going to write in our subscriptions. So guys, usually I put subscriptions as a variable expense, but because I'm running out of room, I'm putting it as a fix. So guys, subscriptions would technically be the same every month, so they would be a fixed expense. I personally put them as a variable expense because if worst case scenario, you can always cut that. You don't need that expense every time, if that makes sense, guys. So if you're running low on your expenses or you're not able to manage your income based off your expenses, you can always cut that gym membership. You can always cut some of your subscriptions to make it work for yourself. So now what we're going to go through, we're going to add up all of our expenses here. We're going to add up our total of fixed and our total of variable. So let's see here. We have car insurance for $127, rent for $593, phone for $70, Wi-Fi for $27, subscriptions for $30, and gym for $30. That's going to put our total of fixed at $877. Then we're going to go over to our variable. We have gas for $80, personal for $20, groceries for $120, self-care for $100, fun for $150, and then our credit card minimum payment for $40. So that puts our total of variable at $510. So now we're going to add $510 plus $877. Our total expenses for the month is only $1387. So now guys, what we're going to do is we are going to find our cash surplus. Our cash surplus is the money we have left over after we take care of our expenses. So how we get this number, we're going to take our full income, which is $2536, and we're going to minus it by our expenses. Why finding our cash surplus is very important is because we know how much money we have left over after we take care of our expenses. So $2536 minus $1387. Let's see what we get here. $2536 minus $1387 puts us at $1149 for the money we have left over after we take care of our bills. So that is really good, guys. That is a good cash surplus to have left over. So usually what I go in and do, our goal was to have $400 left over per month to save. Our expenses look really good. I don't see anything to cut. But if you are looking at your expenses, guys, and you're thinking, well, your cash surplus isn't that big and it's not reaching your goal, out of what of these expenses can you cut so you can save some more money? My expenses look pretty good. I'm not worried about them. So we're going to move along here. We do have a credit card debt that we want to pay off, but we're going to get to this here shortly. And we have $40 minimum payments that we're paying on there, and we have $1149 left over. So we're going to move to that one in a minute, but now we're going to go to the next page in our journal. The next page in our journal is going to be our bill payments page, guys. So we're going to write down all our bills again so we know exactly what and when our bills are coming out. So we have rent coming out on the 1st. So our rent will be every 1st. So we're just going to write 1/1 here. And it is a total of $593. So once we pay that off, we're going to put a check mark in here. But guys, I'm going to go through and write down all my bills. All my bills are usually going to be my fixed. And then you can put your subscriptions and gym memberships in here as well, just so you know when those are coming through. But I'm going to quickly go through and write them all in. So guys, now what we went in and did, we wrote down all of our bills and when they are due. So I went in here and wrote down all my expenses that are fixed. So usually these are always going to be your fixed expenses. A bill is always usually a fixed expense. So I went in and wrote everything down, and you're going to cross it off as you pay them. I'm just put I already paid my rent, just so you guys can see. Just put a check mark when you pay them. This way you're looking at your bill payments and they're not a surprise when they come out, because you've been looking at them. Sorry guys, it's just a teacher thing where I just do like little stuff like that. But you'll know exactly when and what's coming out. So it's like you're seeing your bills multiple times, so you know when to expect that money to be removed and when it's coming out. The next page we have here, guys, is our lovely expense tracker. So guys, how we use an expense tracker, this is going to be your best friend. Your expense tracker is going to be your reference for when you want to decide to know where your money is going. So I recommend using your expense tracker weekly, but you can always check back. You're going to check back at the end of the month, but you want to focus on for sure using it weekly. So it has date, amount, and category, and outcome. So guys, I'm going to show you how we fill it out here. So on the first, we're going to break our expenses down into 3 categories. On the first, we had to pay $5.93, and the category for this would be rent. The outcome for this will be planned. We are going to break our expenses down into 3 categories, and I'm going to write them up here just in case you forget. The 3 categories we're going to break our expenses down into is planned, unplanned, and impulsive. So what's the difference between these expenses? Planned is going to be our expenses we already plan to spend. So our planned expenses here is from this sheet. So we plan to spend this much on car insurance. We plan to spend this much on rent, our phone, our Wi-Fi, our subscriptions, our gym memberships, our variable. This is planned, guys. We plan to only spend 80 on personal care, or 20 on personal care, 80 on gas, 120 on groceries, self-care, yada, yada, yada. We plan to spend that much on there. If we were to go over the planned, it would now become impulsive. If it's either over our budget in the plan situation, or it's not even in our budget and we go buy something, like let's say we had to go get something for our birthday party that we didn't know was coming up. That would now be impulsive because you have to go make an impulsive spend because it wasn't in the budget. Unplanned is going to be for emergencies. This is going to be things that come up that we have to take care of that would be an emergency. Car repairs, medical bills, things like that will be unplanned. Oil changes. So I'm gonna go in and we're gonna write down our expenses that were planned, and then we're going to write our impulsive and unplanned so you can see how this works here, guys. So guys, all right, I took a few minutes to go through and write everything in here. So I filled out my whole expense tracker, guys. Woo! It took a minute, but as you can see here, we have some impulsiveness, we had some planned, and we've had some unplanned expenses come up. So why this is important, guys, an expense tracker is your best friend because it's letting you know if you stayed on budget. All your planned expenses should be in here. So are you going over your groceries? Are you staying on your grocery budget? Are you spending more on personal care? Are you spending more on fun? How are you doing with your budget? How you're gonna know is your planned. If your planned is pretty consistent, that's good. That's showing that we are on budget with those planned expenses. Those unplanned things came up, we had to take care of those. We see those here. Then we had some impulsiveness. Why are we having impulsiveness? Are we going over our budget? Are we buying things that we don't need? This is what our expense tracker does a great job keeping a record of. The next page we have here is our reality checking page. So now what we're going to do is we're going to use our expense tracker as a reference, because now we're going to add up what we actually spent on everything. How much did we actually spend on entertainment, clothing, cosmetics, gas, all those good things. How much did we actually spend on those? So that's what we're going to do here. We're going to go in and we're going to write down, did we stick to our budget goals? And I'm going to show you guys how we're going to do this. We're going to use this as a reference. We're going to add up how many times we ate out, how much we spent on groceries, and this will give you your totals here, guys. I'm going to add this up and I'm going to speed this up here, but we'll do a breakdown in a minute after I speed it up. So guys, now we got to the juicy side. I know you guys seen me filling this out. Let me just clean up my camera there so it focuses. Okay, so guys, I know you seen me going back and forth, flipping between the pages and going through. So what we did here is we wrote down what we actually spent on every single thing. How we figured this out, we were using our expense tracker, and if you need to pull bank statements, go ahead and pull those bank statements. But guys, I know down here I didn't leave any room for some of these columns, so make sure you're going in and you're re-adding them up, guys. For future notice, I'll make sure I put some for credit cards, gym, self-care, subscriptions, and stuff like that. I just write them in just so I make sure I'm not missing those. And how I make sure I have everything, I just go back and add all this up, and I break down everything into a category. So now what we're going to do is we're going to add up and see how much our total expenses were for the month and see if it matches with our goal setting here page. So our goal was to only save $400 for the month, but if we did our expenses are supposed to total $1,387, and we're supposed to have $1,149 left over after we take care of our expenses. So now we have our expense tracker, and we're going to see how we actually did. So we're going to add all this up together and write it here at the top. So guys, after we added everything up, our expenses totaled to $1,567. Our goal was to only spend $1,387 on our expenses. So that means we went over by $200 of our expense track. So now we need to see what happened that caused us to go over by $200. Did we still reach our budget goal? Yes, we did, because our goal was to save $400. But why was our expenses off here? So now what we're going to do to figure out how our expenses were off is we're going to go through and look at our unplanned and our impulsive. This, when you add this up, this should directly be the difference of why your budget was off, because those are the things that weren't included in the budget that messed up the budget. So I hope that makes sense for that page, guys. So now we're going to use this page again, but we're going to go over to our debt tracker. So now we're on page 5 of my templates, which is going to be our debt tracker page. So guys, remember we had a credit card minimum of $40, so we are currently paying off some type of debt, whether it's big or small. So we're going to go in and we're going to fill this page out here. So guys, we're going to go in and we are going to fill out our debt tracker. So right now we are paying off a Ulta credit card. So we're going to go in and we're going to write in our credit limits and our starting balance on this card and our interest rate. So all of this is important, guys, because this is showing us how much is on the credit card. So our credit limit we have here is $1,000. Our starting balance that we need to pay off here is $500. This is a store type of debt. We're not going to put the account number because that's a lot of information on here, but that's if you needed to put that in there. Our interest rate is at about 24%. And our minimum payment here is going to be $40. And we're going to make a goal to pay this off by, let's see here. we're doing 500 divided by 40. Let me see here. Will roughly take us about a lot of time, but we're gonna pick a goal here to pay this off by March. So right now we are currently in January. Based off this budget, we're gonna make a goal to pay this off in March. So guys, technically we could go ahead and pay this off because we have money left over in our cash surplus. So it's totally up to you guys, but I want to show an example of how you would fill this out. So each day you come in and make a minimum payment on here, you're going to add that in. And the balance was at 500 when we made this payment. And we would add 24%. Oopsie guys. 24% in interest. But what we're gonna do, we're actually not even gonna wait till March. We're gonna pay this off. So starting February 2nd, we're going to put $500. Or actually it was only gonna be $460 roughly. Well, we still have to round up the interest. Guys, I'm terrible at doing percentages, so I'm not even gonna do it, I promise you. But what we're gonna do is pay that off. So we're gonna put 500 towards it plus whatever the 24% of interest is, and we're just gonna pay off our card. But with this tracker, guys, all you do is you're gonna go in and write down each time you make a payment, and you're gonna leave notes on the side here if you are paying off credit card debt. That's what this page is for. I'm not struggling with debt, so I'm not a really big user of this page, but guys, if you need more help and more explanation on this page, we can always go through it again, but that's how I would do it. And I also help with making plans for all of that, guys. So our next page here is going to be our savings tracking jar. So in here, our saving goal was to save $400. Our starting balance here, the money we have left over after we take care of our expenses, we're gonna go in and we're going to figure that out. So we're gonna take our full number of expenses for the month, which was $1,567, and we're gonna subtract that by our income so we can see what the difference is here. So 2536 is our income here. So 2536 minus our total of expenses is going to show us how much money we are able to put in our savings here. So 2536 minus 1567 puts us at $969 for our savings. So this is important because when we go to our savings tracker, our starting balance will be $969. Yeah. So that's how much we have in our savings tracker, and each month, of course, that's going to add up and build over time. But that was what will be in our jar. And how we found that again, guys, we did our cash surplus again. So we took our full income minus our reality. So think of this page as your reality page. So this is what your reflection that actually happened. So now, guys, we're going to be looking at the last few pages in the journal. We have our notes pages for anything you may need to write in here. You can write grocery lists. This is your free space to write whatever you may need. You can break down a weekly budget if you need to. My next video will be how do we break down a weekly budget. So that's going to be in there. And then the very last page we have is our monthly reflection page, guys. This is going to be our best friend. So we're going to go through and write this out, and then we'll be done. So the first question is, did we reach our monthly budget goal? So let's go back and look at what our monthly budget goal was. Our monthly budget goal was to save $400. So yes, we did reach our budget goal. Okay, what were some obstacles that we faced this month? We had impulsive spending. It looks like we were eating out and we didn't put any eating out in our budget. So for next month, maybe make a budget for eating out so it won't be so impulsive. So what were some obstacles? Sorry guys, I write really slow. There we go. So then, did you have any unplanned expenses? If so, how did that affect your variable expenses outcome for the month? Correct. Yep guys, so let's go back to our expense tracker. And it looks like we had a vet bill that came up and an oil change. And that affected us here because we had to spend $60 for the vet and then $75 for that oil change, which put us behind in our expenses by $135. Oh, hold on, let me focus the camera, guys. So in this box, we're gonna put yes, oil change, and vet bills. 135 difference. For my planned expenses. So now, what was your biggest accomplishment for this month? I'm gonna say my biggest accomplishment was that we were able to save $500 over our budget goal. And what is a major goal we have for next month? Not to eat out as much. So guys, you have it. That's how we use the budget planner. So the first thing we do is we write down our budget goal for the month and we write down our expenses and we cut as needed so we can make sure we're reaching our budget goal. The next page we do is our bill payments page. You just have a second page to keep track of all our bills. The next page we have is our expense tracker. We're seeing where our money is going, we're writing down, and we're figuring out what is happening with our money. And we're categorizing it into 3 categories: planned, impulsive, and unplanned. Then we use our expense tracker and we add up everything that we spent so we know how much our total of expenses really were, our actual page, our reflection, our reality of what actually happened. So we go in and write all our expenses and then we see how much we save. So to see how much we're going to be saving for the month, we're going to take our full income minus our total of expenses and we're going to save that. Next, we have our debt tracker page. If you are paying off debt, guys, 10 times out of 10, if you have a nice cash surplus, the money you have left over, go ahead and knock off that credit card debt so you're not building heavy interest on that. So we went in and we wrote down what we did with our credit card for the month and we're keeping track of those payments in there. Then we went in with the rest of the money we had left over after we take care of our expenses and we put money in our savings, which was $969 is what we had left over after we spent our expenses for the month. So we put that in our savings tracker. Our savings goal was to save $400 based off the goal that we set over here for the month. So next after that, we have a notes page. You can write anything on here that you may need that makes you feel happy. You can write positive notes, affirmations, whatever you want to put in here, weekly budgets, whatever you may need to do. Then we had our monthly reflection where we reflect on how we actually did, what happened, did we reach our goal, what were some things that maybe stopped us from reaching our goals, did we have any unplanned things that we couldn't have controlled, so we can make sure we're writing those down. What was our biggest accomplishment, because we should still be proud of ourselves whether it was small or whether it was big. And then a goal for next month. So then you'll go back in and you'll do this again, guys, and this repeats for 12 months. And that is how you use my journal. That was a lot to take in. I feel like a teacher. So guys, whenever you buy a journal from me, or whenever you slide up on my TikTok, you ask me questions about budgeting, feel free to hop in an email with me. I will take calls and help you set up a budget. I know this is a lot, especially when you first learn. I actually took a class called Independent Living when I was in high school that taught me like what a budget was. So I basically taught myself how to make my own budget sheets, which if you see me on TikTok, I talk about it all the time. I talk about how I moved out and how I was able to afford it. And even before I was paying rent, I would basically use this budget how I am now. So instead of adding rent, let's say I was making $1,600 a month before paying rent. When I was living at my dad's house, I didn't have to pay rent. And I was working full-time, both of my jobs. So I was making $1,600 a month. Let's just say roughly $1,600 a month between both jobs. And I didn't have to pay rent. So all I had to pay when I was living at my dad's house was my phone bill and my car insurance. So that was about $200 a month. So if you think about it, I was making $1,400 a month after paying my bills. So I was able to put at least $1,200 in my savings each month. You see what I'm saying here? So if you guys moved out at 18 and you're not understanding, or you still live with your parents, I recommend starting budgeting now, so when you get older you can teach yourself how to do it. When I moved out with my boyfriend at the time, my ex. I moved out with him, but I was still financially stable that if we were to break up, I would be able to take care of my finances. So now we did break up and I got me a better apartment and my life just completely did a 360 in a positive way. I'm able to know how to budget and pay my stuff now. So like I said, once you start young, you get used to it. And don't think of budgeting as restriction. Just think of it as knowing where your money is going. Don't ever be embarrassed to say, I budget. Like, okay. A lot of people don't know how to budget. So be proud of yourself and be happy that you're learning, and take the time to actually learn. And any questions you do have, please don't hesitate to ask in the comments. Please don't hesitate to ask in my email. You can email me at Jaliyah.Kreationz @gmail.com. I will take all my emails, and I read my emails daily, and I check my emails daily. So shoot an email my way, shoot a DM on Instagram, but I prefer you to email me. Email me, please. DMs are just, sometimes I don't get my DMs, and it's just a whole nother process, and I don't want you to think that I'm ignoring you. So don't forget to copy, you guys, a budget planner. Like I said, I strictly live by this. As you can see, I broke it down, and I hope it makes sense. If you have any questions, once again, feel free to message me. But here it is. And I'm about to hit 10K on TikTok, so once I hit 10K, it'll be a big giveaway that I'm going to be doing. So make sure you are subscribing, liking, and sharing this video. Love you guys.